one of the things that sets apart good superheroes from the mediocre ones is that the good superheroes that carry movie after movie and story after story have like a strong psychology at their center, where you have a very strong idea of who they are and why they do what they do and why they do it the way they do it. And I think Spider-Man is up there, and then I would add to that Batman, Captain America, Iron Man, like the MCU versions at least, Superman as well. Like you have just a very clear idea of why these people are heroes and why their heroism takes the form that it does. Like the Arrow TV series was really strong about this too, where because it was a TV series, it took a lot of time establishing why that character did what he did. Whenever you do that, I think that's when superhero stories are at their strongest. And I think as the superhero genre grew into its kind of its decadent age, like in the late 2010s, pretty much going into now, we kind of skipped that part a little bit or hand wave it a little bit. And as a result, their stories are not nearly as compelling. And Peter Parker has this really strong and compelling human and emotional core, which is that, like you said, he used his powers for selfish reasons once, and he paid a massive price for it. And he wants to do right by everybody, and therefore he gets stretched too thin, and so he disappoints everybody, even though he keeps trying. That is something that makes him different. Like, he's not just a collection of powers. And so his choice of what to do with that is what's interesting. And I think once you start going into the slightly more obscure ones, a lot of the time don't have this, where they are basically just reduced to their power set, but they are not as fleshed out as people. And when that happens, it's just a generic action movie.
And that's why a lot of the kind of newer characters that we're being introduced to in the MCU seem to be falling flat, because we're not getting that well-rounded perspective of the character. We're not sort of kind of like truly understanding sort of who they are, like why they're doing what they're doing, and this, that, and the other. It's just like, okay, here's a new hero for you guys to sort of like, because you like all the other heroes that we've liked before, and it just doesn't work, and it just doesn't resonate. Other characters, like trying to think of like who else they try to introduce. The MCU movies like past Endgame, I've really gone blank on, just because they've not really been sort of super memorable outside of like maybe like a few like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and stuff like that.
So one example of this is Wonder Woman. I don't think Wonder Woman has a story, at least not in the movies. What is exactly her story that unfolds throughout the DCEU? I don't think there really is one. And I like the first one just fine. I think it's got some really good bits and some not good bits. But how do you boil down her character in terms of what she's about in the way you can do it with a Spider-Man or with a Batman? And I don't think it's really possible. And I think that's one of those reasons why that character tends to not really take off, because while like there's a bunch of things to like about her, there isn't really that core to it. And that might exist in the comics, I don't know. But in the movies, it hasn't really existed. And that would, for me, be an example of like where all the ingredients are there. Like I can, like in the first Wonder Woman movie specifically, there's a couple of really cool moments that really stand out, even though I've watched that movie only once when it came out. What is it, 9 years now at this point? But like as a person, she's not that interesting. And she could be, but like it's like all the pieces are there, but there's like this hollow center that has never been filled. Because of that, I think that character has never really, like everybody wants her to succeed, but she's never really been like a top tier character for that reason, in the movies at least.
Yeah, I was like really wanting it as well. Like when Batman vs Superman came out, and then they had like this whole like big three or sort of them two with Wonder Woman, etc. I was like, okay, cool. Like, let me see what DC can do with these characters. And of course, like everything that unfolded after that was whatever. I personally was never really too much of a fan of the first one, and then the second one was something kind of like even worse than that. But again, it was just like another case, like you said, of just like failing to make me resonate or like really care about the character and like sort of kind of like have me invested in their story or what they were about.